So I have a very short presentation. Thank you so much, Violeta, for that wonderful context setting, and Eleftheria for that beautiful grounding session. And what I'm going to do here is just talk in general about mental health, really like mental health 101. What is mental health? What is mental illness? And then our esteemed panelists, Dr. Om and Helen, will be talking about their perspective. So my agenda was to give like a 101 introduction. So here's what I'm going to dive right in. So this is a short presentation, and in interest of time, I may not show all the slides. I may not speak about all the slides. I just want to keep it like an overview. So though you may see some slides, I may not I may not present them at all. So we are just going to cover in brief what is the concept of mind. I mean, when we say mental, we need to know what mind is. One of the most important aspect in mental health is role of stress. And Violeta has brought in her little introduction the importance of stress in today's world. I mean, the ecology is also a part of our environment. So how stress plays a role in mental health, the mind-body relationship, the biopsychosocial model of mental health, understanding mental health, and the importance of mental well-being. So in the next 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, I'm just going to run through this as just an introduction so that we can have the rest of the session for question answers and our esteemed panelists to present their perspectives. So when we talk about mind, mind is nothing but working of the brain. And there have been a lot of philosophies, like millennia have tried to define what mind is. And then they say mind is not just the body, but it's something more. But remember, to perceive that something more, you still require your brain. So mind is nothing but working of the brain, and therefore mind and body are very intricately related. So let's start with this. And this is a very, very broad topic. I'm just going to give the gist of it over here. Now, if you really look at mental health and wellness, how does wellness look? So absence of mental wellness is stress or mental illness if it goes to a larger degree. So mental wellness, when you look at it, there's no stress, or stress is within our control. Stress is a part of life, but we have control over it. Good physical and mental health, good family life, generally positive emotions, positive self-concepts, motivation to do something, good friendships, no conflicts, good quality of work life and a work-life balance. And there is so much more. I mean, I've just put a few points here. There's much more. So mental wellness is a condition uh, of not being stressed or not being ill. That is mental wellness. And all the time, our goal is to achieve this mental wellness. Now, how do we do this? Now, we have some domains in our life, like we have our personal life, our professional life, our social life. And all these domains of our life have to be in balance. And these domains overlap. They overlap. Like your personal stress can go into your work life, your work stress can go into your personal life. And talking about environment and ecology and all that thing, just imagine those cities that are so crowded, all that traffic, all that stress you're taking to your work, and there's noise all around you, and that is causing stress. So everything that causes stress, when things are going smooth, there's balance in these domains. But what happens is when the balance breaks down, then it causes stress. And this breakdown can be in any domain. There can be any reason. And there can be a lot of stress where we are pressured, where there's a lot of frustration, there are conflicts. And the stress from one domain spills over into other domains. And when you cannot handle it anymore, that can cause a breakdown. So I'm going to skip over all the theory, just giving you the main points. Now, stress is defined as a condition where the body does not have resources to meet the demands of the environment that has been placed on that individual. So the body cannot handle it anymore. And then what happens? The body gets ready for this flight or fight response. Fight is to take it on. So if I'm anxious about something, I take it on. And flight is to avoid it, to run away from it. So the body is ready. But what happens to the body? Remember, the body is a biochemical machine. It's the best technology, like just said. There are neurotransmitters and hormones, and your immune system is involved. And all these, when the stress just doesn't go away, it causes a type 2 chronic stress, and all those stress hormones build up in your body, and then it starts causing problems with your heart, with your digestion, with your muscles, and it leads to pain and diabetes and insomnia. So many illnesses can happen if your stress is not addressed right away. There is a big role of chronic stress. And what happens with chronic stress is, if you do not address the original source of stress, it leads to reactions to the stress. And those reactions can cause complications. And that can cause a lot of. So, for example, an important presentation has come up. You become anxious about it. That is the original stress. This can lead to various reactions, your thoughts, emotions, behaviors. So these are all reactions. You start thinking, hey, I can't do it. And then you feel anxious, you feel afraid, you start worrying. And then you say, okay, I'm not going to do it. Flight or fight, right? I'm not going to do it. But if you avoid it, then you again start feeling negative about yourself. So self-concept is affected. It can cause a lot of problems, like you may not be able to sleep. You will start getting acidity or acid reflux. You start, so there are so many things that happen because of those secondary reactions. And this chronic stress can then lead to anxiety, depression, sleep problems, digestive problems, and all these physical or mental illnesses, or even relationship issues. So stress, the chronic stress has a big role to play in mental health. Now, what is mental illness? Now, mental illness, when we say stress causes physical and mental illness, what is mental illness? Now, mental illnesses are these broad health conditions that involve changes in emotion, thinking, and behavior, and they are associated with distress and problems in your normal functioning in different areas of life. So they can cause issues when there is distress in the person, or distress in relationship, distress to other people. Then you can say that somebody is mentally ill. Now, mental illness does not mean intellectual disability. Now, this is very important, that if somebody has a low IQ, they're not mentally ill. Okay, learning disability, Alzheimer's, they're not mental illnesses. They have consequences where you need the help of a mental health professional, but they by themselves are not mental illnesses. So how do we approach this? Mental health is a very broad area. Anything that has to do with mental health or psychology or behavior science has to have what is called as these perspectives. It always has this. We are the product of our biology, we are the product of our psychology and our society. So the biopsychosocial model explains the various reasons for mental illness, or they can contribute to a lot of risk factors. When we say the biology, it's all our genetics, our prenatal factors, our health conditions, our nutrition, hygiene, sleep. I mean, the whole thing that directly affects our bodily processes, physiology, anatomy, all those things. Psychological factors are personality factors, your experiences like your trauma, and you might have had childhood trauma, your early life environment, you have chronic stress. So these are some of the psychological factors, your emotions, how you regulate your emotions, environmental factors like pollution and crowding and noise. They can be risk factors. Social factors, relationships, conflicts, workplace issues, and then of course your behavioral factors, which end up, bad habits and maladaptive behaviors, addictions of different types. Now, all these are risk factors. Now, these behavioral factors are also consequences, right? They are also consequences of these factors. So it's all cyclical. Now, a lot of these factors, the biological factors or even personality factors, all these are risk factors. Now, remember, not everyone with these conditions will develop that mental illness. Now, the type of illness varies based on the individuals, how these factors interact in every person's life will determine if what type of illness happens, whether it happens, to what degree it happens. Now, one of the important things to know in mental health is, because this is very, very individualistic, these individual differences are reasons that mental health is not understood and it is stigmatized. Because people will say, hey, I could handle it. Why can't you handle it? But that why can't you handle it? Because that person is different. And this is what people generally do not understand. It gets stigmatized. So remember that mental health is individual. And there are many different types of mental illnesses. There are mood disorders, anxiety disorders, personality disorders, psychosomatic, psychotic, eating disorders, trauma-related disorders like PTSD, substance abuse disorders. Now, how do we diagnose this? There are certain standards, there are the DSM criteria, there are the ICD-10 criteria. So the professional has to diagnose this. Please don't Google something and diagnose yourself, because these days Google has become like it gives you information, but don't label yourself that I have OCD. I mean, OCD is something that people constantly label themselves. No, OCD is a disorder. If you are perfectionist, don't call yourself an OCD, because Google will tell you are an OCD. Lot of myths that people with mental illness are dangerous, they're weak, they're faking it, they're doing it just to seek attention. Children cannot have mental illness. Remember, the child suicide rates have skyrocketed. Mental illness, the numbers are out of the roof. Depending on where you're looking at, you look at like 10% to 30% people. Somewhere, some studies say 70% people. Everybody has some condition or the other. Uh, it can just go away with medicines. Yes, medicines are very important, but some illnesses don't go away only with medicines. There's work to do. It can go away by just walking or exercises or ignoring it, or only therapy will work. Only therapy also doesn't work for a lot of illnesses. You need medicines for that. And one of the biggest myths is mental illness cannot be cured. There are cures, there are people have recovered, people are very well functioning. So this is a myth that mental illness cannot be cured. And there are advances in psychiatry and behavioral medicine over the last 20, 30 years, which have made a lot of techniques and therapies possible. Now, if you feel that your stress is, you're very overwhelmed and you cannot get help, then please go and see a doctor or a mental health professional. This mental health professional must be a qualified mental health professional. Please don't go to a quack. That a detailed case history needs to be taken. There are medical diagnostics, there are psychological tests like psychometric tools, there's behavioral observation, and based on all the reports and case history, the psychiatrist or a licensed psychologist will be the person who will make a diagnosis. So this is very important to know. All the attendees here, please go to a qualified professional to get a diagnosis. Once the diagnosis happens, then the treatment can start. So depending on how you approach the doctor will tell you whether you need a test, whether you need a blood test or any other test. So there are medicines, there's counseling, there's therapies, there's a lot of holistic approaches. So holistic approaches will also elevate your mental wellness. And there are different types of professionals who are involved in mental health, like psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors, social workers, psychiatric nurses. Remember, these are all people with highly advanced specialized degrees in this field. So they are people who know the background, they've got the experience. And of course, there are a lot of allied healthcare providers who also work in the field, like occupational therapists, physical therapists, learning disability specialists, special education teachers, so many. So we need, when we talk of mental health, we have a lot of professionals who also work in this domain. One of the most important part is being psychoeducated. And this webinar, for example, is an example of psychoeducation, where we are educating, where we are telling people about this topic. It is extremely important to need to know about mental health, get the treatment, understand the nature of your illness. One of the important things when a client comes to us, for example, we tell their family members how to respond to the person with a mental health, because caregivers also need therapy, they need help, they need they also need treatment or support. What support to look for, and of course ensuring self-care. And from mental illness, we move to mental wellness, and of course, changing lifestyle changes, making those, exercise and diet and sleep, managing your relationship, changing the way you think, and managing your physiological responses. That means taking care of your health. All these are very important for self-care. Now, where to begin? Give a me time, being kind to yourself, reframing your thinking, reflective journaling, traveling, being with nature. I mean, we started with eco-civilization. Being with nature is a very important thing. Learning to say no. So skills like assertiveness, read a book on self-care, do something and take charge of your own mental health. um, I have a program which is called Seven Powerhouses of Motivation. This is a mental wellness program which has these 7 steps or 7 criteria, and there are a lot of activities around each one of this. There are practices. So I have offered this workshop during the pandemic at least 14, 15, 16 times to different groups and corporates and community groups. So if you're interested, I can talk about this in some other session. And final thought is, find the right balance. Reach out to someone for support. Seeking help is not the sign of weakness. Seeking help is a sign of strength, that you are taking charge of your own mental health, and you are in fact giving power to yourself. You are empowering yourself. So know that seeking help, seeking support, seeking medicine, seeking therapy is not a sign of weakness. And there are so many options for you to get well. So be the architect of your own future. And this is where I have just given a very broad overview. I hope this was sufficient, but our panelists will probably deep dive, and I'm also ready to take questions, and after all are done or whenever. So thank you so much for inviting me. I'm extremely honored to have done this presentation and being a part of this amazing group. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Swati, for that comprehensive and insightful presentation. In fact, I'm extremely happy that you touched some of the very important, crucial points, especially the point of, you know, finding your disorder through Google and self-diagnosis, which is very, very harmful. And because it has become so easy, so instant for all of us, that everybody feel that it is absolutely right thing to do. Okay, just Google it, just find out what the hell is happening to my body. Dr. Swati, I have a question for you. You being a clinical psychologist, in your experience, what percentage of patients get cured only by counseling, in your experience?
In my experience, depending on the severity of the problem and the nature of problem, counseling can help. But if
Right.
the disorder is severe, disorder is psychiatric in nature, then you do need medication and therapy. So unfortunately, I don't have statistics about this. I
Mm.
don't think there are statistics exactly like how many percentage of people get well only by counseling. But I can tell you that folks who, depending on the nature and the severity of the disorder, there are people who get well by counseling, but there are, if it is severe, they need medications.
Right. Because I have often seen most of the times, I have experienced, at least in my country, in India, majority of the people, they do not know the difference between a psychiatrist and psychologist, first of all.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
initially, they are totally confused whom to approach, whether to go to a psychiatrist, psychologist for counseling or what. So they're totally confused.
Correct.
And a majority of the time, they expect a psychologist to prescribe some medicines
Mm.
because of lack of awareness. So I
Yes.
think through these webinars, we are trying to create that awareness only,
Yes. Yes.
that at least people should have the fundamental idea. Because when you
Yes.
have elementary idea, then only you can approach the right person and you
Yes.
can help yourself before others will come to help you. So thank you so much for this insightful answer, and once again for this
Thank you.
presentation. And Violeta and Eleftheria, do we have any question for Dr. Swati at this moment in
Well,
the question
nothing
answer
from the
session?
audience so far. I now enabled everyone if anybody wants to say anything directly. But if I may, one very short one. Since we're dealing with civilizational paradigms and that, what would you say, or can you share with us some typical challenges that are rising out of this conflicts that we are seeing right now about all these incredible changes in social structures, in political landscapes, in relationships with within families and each other due to some technological apps or any other tools?
Yeah.
What is your stance in that area?
Absolutely. I mean, these webinars also give us an opportunity to think through because these are very important questions. So, one of the things that that keep coming, like I've been doing this for last 30 years.
Hmm.
But in the modern times, it is always about the changing values. The values around family, for example, that is changing. uh, a lot of materialism. So people chasing, there's a rat race. The whole issue of like I mean, we do counseling for so many people. So there are people who have come from small towns into the cities. They can't integrate. Suddenly the value system is different. So the just those values cause so much of stress, so much of conflicts. The this cell phone is like a curse and a blessing at the same time, right from very small children who are not eating. I've seen parents putting this cell phone on and trying to feed the kids. I mean, what is it doing to their brains? So you have so many instances of ADHD and all these things, which there are lots and lots of studies which link all these things together. There's a lot of research which has been done. And you very rightly said the modern living has made things like we have really brought it on ourselves. So we see this in the practice. Yes. So there's a lot of cultural, social values which have contributed. Like I said, these are all factors of mental illness and mental health, and we actually see it in our practice.